Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. We've just got Ruben Amorim's embargoed press conference for the West Ham game dropped now. We've got all the quotes to bring you. He's talking about his plans ahead of the final, who's going to play, who's not going to play, who's a risk, who will be back. Also, quite a revealing statement around the end of season tour, the corporate nature of football these days and how Amorim has to swallow it. We'll talk about that. He spoke about that too, and a few other bits as well, specifically around style, system, and how the Premier League is still going to be very important in these next two games. So we'll delve into that, but we do have a little bit to bring you about the Bruno Fernandes situation and the Cunha situation as well, to be fair. So let's talk about that. So effectively, what we've got going on with Manchester United at the moment is that we have Bruno Fernandes and Saudi Arabia and Manchester United and this strange situation. And, like we've had bits come out of the club about Delap and Onana and Deleu's return, etc. And to be fair, this source has not missed yet. So in relation to Bruno Fernandes, last summer, he was approached by Saudi and offered good money, which is why Bruno Fernandes' agent went to Manchester United and got a pay rise. Manchester United are sat there now sort of going, we gave you the pay rise last year about Saudi going for you. We can't give you another pay rise. Now, if you remember what happened last summer, we had a bad season. We won the FA Cup. Bruno didn't necessarily have a really good season, and he got a pay rise from 250 grand a week to 300 grand a week. Some people felt that that was a bit strange because he was under a long contract. We didn't need to do that. He'd not had an amazing season. Okay, we'd won the FA Cup. Why did Bruno need a pay rise? But if you remember correctly, there was a lot of stories at the start of the summer about Bruno Fernandes maybe looking at other options. I think he was linked to Bayern Munich, etc. What actually happened, according to this source, is that Bruno Fernandes got offered a lot of money from Saudi. And his agent, doing his agent's job, basically went to United and said, look, we're not saying he's going, and Bruno did not threaten the club or anything like that. We're not saying he's going, but look at the money that's on offer for him, and what are you going to do about it? Considering Mason Mount's getting paid more money than him and he's been injured all season. Rashford's being paid more money than him. Casemiro's being paid more money than him. And he's your best player. And United, rightly or wrongly, said, look, we're aware of the money. We're aware of what's being offered. We will pay 300 grand a week. And everybody signed and everybody's very happy. And that was the situation. But what the Saudis have done, quite cleverly, is go, well, last year we offered him a lot of money and the club had to respond and give him a pay rise to keep him happy. Let's try it again. And Man United are going, well, we're not offering you more money because we did that last year. We can't go higher than 300k. We gave you the contract last year. We expect you to honour that contract and stay with Manchester United. But the Saudis have come back in and gone, well, last year it forced United to act. This year, if they're not going to act, will it make Bruno and his agent go, well, if you're not going to act, maybe we will go. It's a pitch. I think it's a shot in the dark. I understand it, but I think, having spoken to this person this morning, I do understand what's going on a little bit more now. Man United aren't going to budge. They've done the contract. They feel that Bruno should honour that contract. Saudis, knowing that United reacted last year when they offered a lot of money, are basically saying, well, let's offer a little bit more this time and see what happens. Knowing United aren't going to give him a pay rise, does it tempt Bruno and his agent? I don't think it will. I just think it's strategic. I understand what the Saudis are doing. I think it's quite clever, really. You know, they've got nothing to lose. They know United can't respond to it and won't respond to it. So let's put a silly offer on the table and see if he reacts to it. The question, I suppose, is when will we find out that he's turning it down? But it makes sense. Yeah, it's one of those. And I certainly don't think Bruno's agent can knock on the door of Man United and say, we've been offered 1.25 million. Are you going to give us a pay rise? Even I would sit here and say, I want Bruno to stay, but we can't give him 350 grand a week. We can't give him 400 grand a week. Will the agent, and that's basically what was said this morning, is will the agent knock on the door and say, if you want to keep him, we want 400 grand a week, in which case that becomes really difficult. I don't think that'll happen. Look, what I was told is under no circumstances is Bruno Fernandes attempting to get a pay rise, or did he threaten to leave last summer? It was a logical conversation last summer that he felt he deserved a pay rise, and I think he did, comparable to other people. But the Saudis are playing a good game here, and it's all about whether, they want to take that money. I don't think he will. Please do smash a like on the video. I think there's something wrong with YouTube today. I mean, the stream was set up ages ago. We only had 100 people waiting, and we've been live for about 5 minutes, and there's only 2,000 watching. So I feel like YouTube's just messing around today. I've had a few problems watching something I was watching. So fair play to the 2,000 watching. You got the exclusive there. And as I said, our source is not missing at the moment. So, yeah, very, very interesting. Doesn't mean Bruno's going. We haven't had the clarity yet. It just explains the game that's going on, I suppose. I love Bruno, but if the agent even asks for 350, we should sell him, honestly. It says unpopular. Thank you very much for that. Okay, let's talk about what's going on with Amorim then, because we have got the West Ham press conference to deliver to you. Let me just say that. Okay. Cunha, very, very quickly. Well done on the comment section this morning. Somebody said on the comment section this morning, surely you could ask a couple of people what's going on with Cunha, with the connections that you've got, which led to me having the conversation about Bruno. They couldn't tell me anything about Cunha, by the way. But speaking to a couple of journalists, they basically said, look, realistically, Man United are hot favourites to get Cunha. What the Arsenal and Newcastle stuff is just normal behaviour. But Man United are quite relaxed. Cunha is focused on Man United. You'd still expect him to be a Man United player. So that's made me feel a little bit better about that. If we win Europa, will Casemiro's wages go to 500k? No, because he's on 350k a week, JBM. I don't know what that weirdness is all about on a Friday lunchtime, but absolutely not. So let's go into the situation with Ruben Amorim. Let's go through some of the questions he's been asked ahead of the West Ham game. I think the first thing I would say is at the end of the season, this is what he was asked. At the end of the season, there's a post-season tour. What are your thoughts on that, and were you consulted on it? So after we play the Villa game, we fly to the other side of the world. I think it's modern football for you. I think it's hypocritical. This is what Amorim had to say. I was consulted, and again, I've already spoken about this. We cannot say nothing after this season, so we need to help the club because the club wins money from this. We are going to connect with our fans around the world, and that is important, especially when we lose and we disappoint our supporters during this tough season. So I think it's the least we can do, and we are going to take all the team, young kids also. We'll have the staff there. We have a lot of changes in the staff, so we're trying to build something as a family. I think it's also a good thing. Will you take all the senior players as well? Yes. I mean, look, Ruben Amorim is employed by Manchester United Football Club. I back Ruben Amorim, and I would not expect him to say anything different. But this is why I don't do agenda. This tour to the other side of the world is an absolute farce. It's a joke. And when we've got injuries next season and people start moaning about it, look at things like this. This is a joke. I think it's absolutely incredible. We've got an amazing community in the Man United fan base. We've got an amazing community in the United stand. And some of you will be going to watch these games really excited because you get to see Bruno Fernandes. You get to see Ahmad, etc. And that is great. And it is great. But if Manchester United want to serve the fans in Australia and Asia, then maybe should do a bloody tour there for pre-season instead of going to the United States every year to make money. I think at the end of a long season, it's a total and utter cop-out to say, we're going over to the other side of the world to say sorry to our fans and interact with our fans. It's the least we can do. I think it's a good idea. I'll tell you what I think is a good idea. You know what I think is a really good idea? After the season we've had and the injuries we've suffered over the last 5 years, I think when there's an allocated week off for footballers that they very rarely get, I think it'd be a good idea to let them have a week off. I don't think it's a good idea at the end of a big season to say, let's get on a plane to the other side of the world, let's go there and back in a few days and play 2 games. I don't think elongating a season is a good idea. Maybe it's a hot take, maybe I'm not reading the room, maybe it's controversial, but I'm not changing my mind on this. And you can spin it however many ways you want to. It's not about the fans in Asia. It's not about connecting with the fans in Asia. It's not about team bonding. It's the end of the season. Everybody's knackered. You're not going to learn anything about your system in 1 week when everyone's pissing off for 6. They are knackered. You're doing this for money. It's all about money. Say it what it is. But I understand why Amorim's saying it. He's the manager, he's got to. But let's not pretend that taking players when they should be off to the other side of the world to play meaningless friendlies is a good idea. It really, really isn't. Adrian says, I'm from Hong Kong. I would rather have the team get a proper off-season rest, recharge, and start unprepared for next season. It's very honest of you, Adrian. Look at the reports about clause in Casemiro's contract, says JB. He's not on 500k a week, mate. Like, he's already played in the Champions League for Manchester United, and he wasn't on 500k a week. He's not on 500k a week. Stop spreading malicious rumours. Why would Rashford want to go to Barcelona and get benched, says Mohammed? Why would we want to talk about Rashford? Let's talk about what Ruben Amorim also had to say. So he said that he was asked the question that he was mentioned about the team's weaknesses, and after your victory over Lyon, you said the squad is lacking some characteristics. Are you willing to share the sort of thing that you're trying to get this squad to learn that perhaps is not there yet? He says, I'm not going to share much, but you can understand when I say characteristics, it's players that play more inside than outside. Small things, even the foot. It's really important in the position that Garnacho played today as a right 10 to have a left foot can change the way you play. To have some wingers that are more offensive than defensive can change the way you play. So these kind of things are what we're going to try and do in the future. It's going to take time. It's not going to be one server or whatever. So I was just talking about that. And then the weaknesses, you can see the win. We have so many problems. Even winning these kind of games, we can see during the game we have a lot of things to improve. I'm very honest from Amorim. Look, I think that what he's talking about there about wingers that are more attacking and wingers that are more defending, he's probably describing Dorgu as a winger and Mazraoui as a winger, even though we know they're defensive fullbacks. Not defensive fullbacks, they're fullbacks. So I think when you saw what Yoro did in the game yesterday as a centre-back and he's suddenly joining the attack, Amorim has hinted many times, and unfortunately, those that talk the loudest don't do their research. Ruben Amorim's system at Sporting was always adaptive. It could always change. But at United, it can't change because he hasn't got enough players to play the system. We saw it with Yoro. Yoro suddenly became an attacker, and Lindelof and Maguire, I think it was, or maybe it was Shaw, whoever it was, they became the centre-backs as a two, and Yoro joins the attack. What he's trying to say is that I would like to have some wingers that are attacking wingers so that I could change that and take off a defensive winger. And I think those things can only happen with infrastructure, recruitment, and acquisition. He was asked also, what are you going to do now in the Premier League with Man United in the final? Are we just going to not see Bruno and Harry and all your key players for the next few games, or do you want them to have some game time before they have to play Spurs in the final? It's a good question, but it's a bad question. I mean, as if you're not going to play Bruno and Harry and before the final against Spurs. You know, there's something called sharpness. So you don't just wrap them up in cotton wool and put them in a cupboard for 2 weeks. They need match sharpness. Anyway, Amorim said this. They will play because sometimes it's better to play. What I will do is protect the players that can get an injury. For example, Bruno before Tottenham, but we moved the game to Friday. So we will have time to recover. We want to be competitive. Also in the Premier League, Bruno doesn't have the problems or knocks that other players have at the moment, but Harry Maguire does. So we'll have to manage that. They have to play, and it's better to play than to stay out. And I agree with that. I think most of you would agree with that, wouldn't you? I mean, we don't want to see... it's about that green zone. If you've ever played, games online, football games, manager games, simulation games, whatever, your players have this thing called they have morale bars. If they're not happy, they're not being picked. But they also have fitness bars, sharpness bars. I would say there's a lot of United, and you want to be in the green zone. If you've got them in the green zone, good. Sharpness, fitness, good. I'd say there's a lot of United players at the moment that their sharpness and fitness are probably in the orange zone, green, orange, red. We need to get those players up to the green zone. So people like Harry Maguire, Mazraoui, I think Mazraoui's probably approaching the red zone. So you look at West Ham at the weekend and you go, not going to use you at all again, but next Friday against Chelsea, I'm looking at 45 minutes, get you back in the green zone, etc. So it's common sense. It makes sense. We instantly said it after the game yesterday. I'd be looking at, I reckon at the moment he's probably got 16 players, all with a chance of starting the final, which is great. So you want to get those players playing, fit, and raring to go. With regards to the competition, the places for the Europa League final, do you expect it to be dog eat dog in training? Will it be intense? I liked this question because, of course, you've now got, as I said, probably 16 players vying to start. So training's probably going to go up a level. I think I would not be surprised if we beat West Ham on Sunday, and I would not be surprised if we get a result out of Chelsea, because suddenly meaningless Premier League games mean everything, because these players need to prove that they're ready to play. And the only way you can play is by doing well. And the only way you can do well is by playing well in those games. He says, I don't know about how the players are going to be in training. Like I said, some players, we have some doubts, but they will recover. They will push forward a little bit, and we have to manage that, not to take the risk and to have big issues. Of course, everyone's fighting for their places. They will be ready. They will be excited, and that is a good thing, not just for the final, but also to prepare for the games of the Premier League with something in our mind that we can win. It's going to be massive. He was asked, does he have to be careful that players get too fierce in training because the competition is tough? He says, I don't have that in me. I always push forward myself. I will try to manage everything. They don't need a lot of load now, so the training is going to be soft in that department, but of course they will push each other. I'm always an advocate of those players that sort of in matches and in training who try and avoid injury end up getting injured. It's like going into a tackle at 50%. Your body is weaker. You know, you've got to be committed in everything that you do, and I don't think that will change for Manchester United. Amorim was also asked what you will look for from these last 3 league games, because everybody will assess your season based on what happens in the final. You win it and finish 16th or 18th, or you lose it and you finish 15th. It's terrible. What will you look from these last 2 games? I think that's a good point, isn't it? Like, yeah, you could beat West Ham and Chelsea and move up the table to maybe 15th. But lose the final and everyone will go mad. Or you could lose to Chelsea and West Ham and win the final and finish 18th, and everyone will be like, that's fine. So it's sort of like they are meaningless, these games. And I don't think there's a United fan that hasn't realised that yet. Like, it really doesn't matter what happens in these games results-wise, because the only game that matters is that final. He said, look, we cannot save nothing from the Premier League, but I think it's a good thing for them. We'll not have a lot of trainings. They will fight for the place in the final in these games. I think against Brentford, we had some mistakes. I felt that some of our players were thinking about this game. So we have to manage that. But we also have to acknowledge that we are Manchester United. We need to win games. Also in the Premier League, we have to use every game to improve, even to prepare for the final, but especially to prepare for the future. He was also asked that West Ham could overtake Manchester United, which actually I'm going to show you, because I think they could. I mean, I don't know whether this is going to cause you concern. To be honest, I'm not too sure. But let me just get that up on the screen for you. There it is. So look, there it is. West Ham are 4th from bottom. If they beat us, they go above us, and if Spurs would be 4th from bottom. I mean, imagine that, 17th and 16th for Spurs and Man United. It's horrific. But we are playing West Ham on Sunday, and if they do beat us, they would go ahead of us. So this is what Amorim had to say. We're trying to do our best in the league, but I agree we can do better. I don't have anything to say about the criticism because we deserve it. If we cannot accept everything in this kind of season, I think we are in the wrong business. I fully acknowledge that, and I agree with all the critics. But in this moment, I think it's really clear. We have to be smart and we have to take a risk. We have to take the risk to get a lot of critics from everybody, because the standards of Roy Keane and all those guys are really high. But I have to make a choice. What is the best for our club, not is what is best for me. I'll make a choice, and in this moment I'm going to save and try to save all the players, because it's really important for us to win the final. And I think that what that's probably to do with is Roy Keane coming out and talking about how players should be playing in the Premier League, which I spoke about yesterday morning, and I don't agree. I mean, maybe some of you do. I don't agree we should be picking our strongest team in the Premier League. I just don't. Mourinho didn't do it on the road to beating Ajax, and Amorim's not doing it now. The most important game is Spurs. I suppose the best preparation for Spurs is Premier League games, and I'm sure people will get a lot of game time. But reality is, you don't want a player getting injured now. And we are in the red zone as well, in the sense that it's less than 2 weeks to that final. Any knock and you're out. I mean, it's all right saying Dalot and De Ligt are going to be back, but already they're probably not starting. And I think that's something to consider. Dalot and De Ligt probably don't start the final if we're thinking about it, because Delo's not played for a few weeks. How can he go straight into a final? He's not fit for the West Ham game. Is he back for the Chelsea game? They've got a chance, but they've both got to start against Chelsea or come on and play considerable minutes. So we're in that zone now where the slightest knock puts you out of the final. And the Premier League is really just preparation, isn't it? WGFVH says, a Premier League final. Both are poor Premier League teams, so this is cancelled out. But United are more of a cup team, which this still is in a European stadium. Let's be optimistic. Mate, I'm optimistic. I am optimistic. I've said we're going to win the Europa League, and I've said it for months. I've been a lonely person saying that for a while, but I think more and more people have joined in, and that's great. But it doesn't defeat the reality that this is a game of high stakes. And I look at that Tottenham side. There are good players in there. I often look, I'm never going to talk about this in the preview, so I'm not ruining anything. I'm sure people look at Man United and get quite confused about where we are on that league table. And I look at Spurs and I get confused. Van der Ven, Romero, Udogie, Porro, they're good players. Bissouma, Sarr, Maddison, Bergvall, Kulusevski, Son, Brennan Johnson, Solanke. They're good players. Like, they are good players. I wouldn't listen to that from anybody, but they're having a bad season as well. And I think when you look at it, all we can do is our job. I've watched Man United's last 2 games in Europe, and I will say this, and I think Amorim's fully aware of it. We are not starting games very well. We didn't start well in Bilbao, and we didn't start yesterday very well either. We've got to do better than that. But look at that Spurs side from last night. Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Bentancur, Bissouma, Johnson, Kulusevski, Richarlison, and Solanke. Son will probably be back on the bench. Tell, Sarr, Spence. Son will obviously be back as well. Danzo, I don't mind him. I think he's all right. I thought he was good for was it Austria? So look, they've got a good team, and yeah, I think we'll win, but I don't think it will be. I think we'll suffer. As Amorim's always said, I think we'll suffer. As I've always said, I think we'll win it, but I don't think we're going to be cruising 3-0 with 60 minutes gone. I just think there will be, yeah, definitely. Kaz has been class in Europa League. However, the final is against a Premier League side that plays fast-paced, high-intensity football. Do you think he should start in the final, or will he get overrun? Armin, I think you've just made a great point, and obviously we've got a lot of time to digest what's going to happen in the final, but Casemiro has played very well in Europe. Is there a correlation between the pace of the Premier League and the pace of Europe that helps Casemiro? He has played very well in Europe, and obviously the European teams don't play at the same speed and intensity as the Prem. We've got to be careful. We've got to be very, very careful, and he's got to be wise and awake to that. I would start Casemiro. I would definitely start Casemiro. I think he deserves to start, but it doesn't mean that he, if he's not doing well, you don't change it. We have got options: Kobe Mainu, Agate, Bruno. World Cup next summer, so they need a break this year, says Dave. Why would Rashford want? I've done that one from Hamid as well. Parker says Casemiro comes from teams who always had something to play for. That's why he switched off by us until Leon. He's a great player when there's a prize, says Parker. Look, I'm not going to say anything negative about Casemiro, but what I will say is it was an FA Cup semi-final against Coventry, and he definitely seemed to switch off. So, look, I don't agree with you on that, Parker. I don't think Casemiro switches it on and off. I think more likely he was struggling with adapting to a drop-off in his game, i.e. his first season at United under Ten Hag, I felt he was Player of the Year. The second season, he came back from the summer, and I think he'd lost a yard of pace, and I think he was struggling. And I think he was being asked to run the midfield on his own. As we saw under Ten Hag, it was wide open, and I think he was exploited, pissed off, and disillusioned. I think Amorim's come in, and they've basically had a chat. I think Amorim initially looked at Casemiro and didn't use him at all in December and January, and clearly didn't feel that he was good enough for his team or mobile enough. And I think Casemiro has got his head down, figured out how to evolve his game, because he's had to change his game. He's definitely focused on not taking a touch and moving. I mean, he's an intelligent footballer. I think what's happened with Casemiro is his game fell off after a year at Man United. Like, he lost a yard or whatever it was. I think he struggled on for a year, and then I think he's gone away, looked at his game and gone, I can't play like I used to. I need to adapt my game. And I think he's adapted his game, and that's allowed for these really good performances. And the thing that stands out to me is that Casemiro at Real Madrid, or that first season at Man United, I think he had the mobility to take a touch and have a look. He had the mobility to take a touch and dribble. Whereas if you watch him at United now, he's not taking a touch. He's relying on the brain, which is what Scholes did towards the end. You lose a bit of mobility, but you make it up with the brain. So whereas some players are taking a touch and then playing a pass, the amount of first-time passes he's playing is ridiculous. And that you don't need pace then. You go and play five-a-side with your mates if you're 50 years of age, stand in the middle of the pitch and just ping off first-touch passes every time. You don't get exploited for pace until you need to defend. What happened to Garnacho from last season and early this season? Has he just lost his confidence to score goals, or is it something else, this double vision? I'm not actually worried about Garnacho. I know some people are. I'm not actually worried about Garnacho because I actually think, and it's great that we have this community and the ability to converse, because we were talking about this. Dorgu and Garnacho play too many games with no competition, and it's not their fault. They're available, they're ready to go. And they play too many games because there's nobody else. And it's not Amorim's fault. He's got nobody else. But I think if Dorgu had genuine competition for the position at left back and didn't play every week, his development would grow. And I think now we've got Ahmad back and hopefully Mount, I think Garnacho will do better, because I think he knows that he's probably not going to start every game now. He might not start the final. And that will help his development. So I think the biggest problem with Garnacho is that he's just been playing every week, and he knows he's going to play every week. Whereas, I mean, look at it very simply like this. If one of Garnacho's criticisms is he gets the ball, he shoots, or he gets the ball, he dribbles, he doesn't pass. If that's one of the criticisms of Garnacho, and Ahmad's back, and Amorim goes, and well, I'm picking Ahmad, and then Garnacho's sort of like, why am I not playing? But well, watch. Because Ahmad will shoot when he needs to, but he'll pass when he needs to, etc. And Garnacho will go, all right, if I want to get back in this team, I've got to start doing that. So I think it's a good thing to have competition for places. And I hope Garnacho responds to it. But look, I saw what David Ornstein put out yesterday about a list of players that are going to move this summer, and he put Garnacho maybe. So it's still there. It's still there. Need another experienced left wing back, just like an experienced striker is needed, says Jims. Look, I'm hoping with Luke Shaw. The trouble with hope is you can't have too much of it, because it won't happen. And what I'm about to say is flawed, because I'm hoping that Luke Shaw's going to stay fit, and I'm also hoping that he's going to get back to what he was like before he was injured. Am I asking for too much there? One, will Luke Shaw ever stay fit for a long period of time? And two, can he get back to the player he was 2 years ago? Because he's basically been injured for 2 years. What I see of Luke Shaw at the moment is that we had to take him off at half-time against Brentford to rest him for the bench on Thursday. I don't think the guy can play 2 games in a week. Also, when he plays, he looks miles off the pace. He looks like a guy that needs to play games to get his sharpness back, but can't play games. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? He can't play regularly because he's obviously injury prone, but he can't get his sharpness up because he doesn't play regularly enough. So I think it's an issue. And the reason I'm talking about that is because we want competition for Dorgu. He's the only left-footed player we've got. Now, can Amas do that? I hope so. Can the lad who's coming in, Leon? I hope so. But they're all young players. And then we're back where we are again, aren't we? It's a bunch of learner drivers trying to motivate each other. Garnacho play was better on the wing rather than on the right, with Ahmad on the right and Bruno in the midfield to Simp. Well, you're talking about the system there, aren't you then? you're talking about the system, and we can't do anything about that. And I think we have to be eyes wide open to that. We can have favourites, we can have players that we want to sell, but ultimately, if you put yourself in a position whereby you recruit a manager who plays a certain system, then there will be collateral in that. Marcus Rashford and Antony are players, regardless of what you think, that are really going because they don't suit the system. I think Garnacho's been given an opportunity because he's 20 and you could adapt, but if he doesn't adapt, I think he will go. I think that realistically, there is a chance that Garnacho's going to go in the summer. I've been saying it for weeks. We knew about it in January, and Ornstein said it yesterday. There is a chance that he will go in the summer, not because he's not talented, but because he's pure profit, and does he really fit the system? And that's something for the summer. It's certainly, I don't really want to get dragged into those sort of conversations with the game that we've got in the next 2 weeks, because I look at that game, I look at that high line, I look at Garnacho running through one-on-one, and I don't want him to chip it because he's nervous. I want him to put it in the bottom corner and win us the game. And those are the prizes that are up for grabs there. But I read something today about who's going to get injured before this final. And as much as I hate saying it, I'm absolutely convinced we're going to lose a player for injury, because it's just, it wouldn't be Man United if that didn't happen. And I think at the moment we're in that position of optimism and positivity and hope and excitement, but I just can't be dealing with losing a major player that hinders us in that game. Antony, okay, I'm not going to talk about Antony in that sense. Do you think we should be looking for another left wing back, considering Dorgu is inexperienced? I think we should be, Grundy, but I don't think we will. Garnacho will do what Antony has done in Betis if he goes. I think he will, H-Man. But, that's sort of what I'm saying. If Garnacho goes off and prospers, I guarantee it will be in a system that's got a winger in it. And that's what I think some people are just completely ignoring. Oh, look at Antony cooking. Yeah, in a system that's got a winger in it. Yeah, what a surprise. Garnacho's gone to Napoli and he's cooking. Yeah, in a system that uses wingers. Like, they can't cook as wingers in a team that doesn't use wingers in that way. And when we're talking about the wingers they want to be high up wingers with little defensive responsibility. They don't want to be wingers in Amorim's system where you're basically a wing back and you're running back like that. They don't want to do that. And they're not made to do that, which is why Garnacho's got to adapt to a number 10. But then you look at some of the players we're bringing in, and is there not a big hint that he might not even start? I genuinely fear that we'll sell Garnacho in the summer. I think the writing's on the wall. He doesn't suit the system. We're bringing players into the place that he plays. Ahmad has shown that he can play right wing back or right wing, whatever you want to call it. Garnacho hasn't shown that he can do that. Therefore, he's got to be a number 10, and we're looking to bring players in that position, and we've already got quite a lot. So, and he's pure profit, and he might be unsettled. Biggest takeaway from last night is that when you have players who can execute and be clinical, Amorim's system works. The subs showed that last night. Hopefully it helps get the ownership to back him. This is Patrick. I think the ownership will back Amorim. As I said this morning, Patrick, I think if we were to lose the game against Spurs, we will be facing Armageddon again. It will be horrible. It will be absolutely horrible. I mean, you talk about the Asia tour, and what are the fans turning up to be happy about on the other side of the world? The shittest season we've ever had, an embarrassing loss to Spurs. I mean, what is there to celebrate? It will be depressing. That end of season tour is a mess anyway. Imagine what a mess it is if you lose to Spurs. It's bloody embarrassing. That's what it is. It's a cash grab anyway, but it's the worst cash grab in the world if you're going over there after losing to Spurs. I mean, the last thing the players the players won't want to do this anyway. They really, really won't. But they're really not going to want to do it if they lose to Spurs. So, yeah, I think that we could be facing a horrible, horrible, toxic situation if we lose to Spurs. I just know it. But they're not going to sack him. They're going to stick by him. It will just be a horrible situation around the club. Ahmad off the bench against the tired team is power, says Parker. Garnacho off the bench against the tired team is power. Should you start both? Should you keep one on the bench as a fullback? I know I said this morning I'd put Garnacho and Ahmad in my team, but reality is he might not do that. He might go with he might look at options whereby you have one of those players off the bench. It's not a bad idea. You don't necessarily always need to start both. I'd be interested to see if he actually does. But yeah, I think it will certainly be interesting how he puts it together. I mean, look, I put De Ligt in my team, and people were going mad saying, "Where's Maguire?" So you know that's interesting as well. Okay. That'll do for now. We are live again at 8 o'clock tonight. Thank you, everybody. Really, really appreciate it. No issues with that at all. And I will speak to you a little bit later. Don't forget, 8 o'clock show tonight is always good fun. Appreciate everyone who's turned in. A bit low views, maybe. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but the Bruno update is very well sourced, by the way, if you missed that at the start. Absolutely nailed on from the person who's been nailed on. They've not missed yet. So if you didn't see that at the start, check it out. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, everybody. I'll speak to you all in a bit.